The presidential race, understandably, has most of the attention this year, but control of Congress is also on the ballot. All 435 seats in the House are on the ballot, as is a third of the Senate. So let's bring in NewsNation's Joe Khalil, who is live for us in Washington, D.C. Joe, where do things stand right now?
Yeah, let's not overlook the Capitol. There's a lot of excitement there, and this election will decide who controls the levers of power, both in the House and in the Senate. As it stands right now, these are both historically close in both chambers. Democrats have an edge in the Senate right now by 2 seats, and Republicans control the House, 435 seats. They had about a 7-seat margin. So that means just about 3 or 4 House races could change the balance. On the other side, literally 1 race could flip for Republicans' control of the Senate. We're going to start off talking about the Senate because Democrats are on defense in a big way. We're really watching about 8 or 9 different races, most of which these are Democratic races where they have to win back, and Republicans feel like they're in a really good position to challenge and to take those seats. Ohio, West Virginia, and Montana is ground zero for that. These are all right now very Republican-leaning states, but all have Democrats that are incumbents that are now in trouble. Joe Manchin in West Virginia is retiring. That state almost certainly going to go flip red. John Tester, the Democrat in Montana, and Sherrod Brown, the Democrat in Ohio, they are fighting hard to keep their seats. But in the last presidential, both of those states are red and Republican-leaning. Sources who I've spoken to this weekend who are familiar with these races say they think these Democrats have a chance to keep those seats. But again, it's going to be very tough. Republicans feel very good about that. We move on to Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, states we have heard a lot about. These are battleground states. Again, all 3 Democrat-held right now that Republicans think they can flip. All of those races, though, you don't really give an edge one way or another. They're basically tied, frozen, and have been in the last couple of weeks, just as the presidential races have been in those states as well. And then some others that we have our eyes on that we didn't really expect to be close, but Nebraska and Texas, those are Republican senators right now. Deb Fischer in Nebraska, Ted Cruz in Texas. They are now in really tight races, and they're favored to win, but they may be a little bit closer, may surprise some people more so than we think. Let's move over to the House right now. I've got my eyes on between 20 and 30 races that are all really competitive right now. And interestingly, many of them are in New York and in California. And it's the opposite. Now we're talking about Republicans who are on defense. Yes, we're talking about Republicans in those very liberal states, but you got a handful, about 6 or 7 in California that we're watching, and about 5 or 6 in New York that won in 2020 and in 2022 that have a really uphill battle to keep their seats now. So, Nichole, all of that, we're going to get some really good insight tonight and in the coming days.
All right, Joe Khalil, live for us there in Washington. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find News Nation on your screen. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.